In the age of social media and instant fame, one woman transformed herself from a name whispered in the background of celebrity circles into a global empire that redefined what it means to be famous in the 21st century. She was born into privilege but not stardom, grew up in the shadow of tragedy and triumph, and became the architect of her own destiny in ways that confounded critics and captivated millions. She turned a moment of humiliation into a launching pad, built businesses worth billions from nothing but her image and her instinct, and changed the entire landscape of celebrity culture forever. Her name became synonymous with reality television, with fashion, with beauty standards, and with the controversial art of being famous for being famous. She has been mocked and celebrated, criticized and studied, dismissed as shallow and recognized as a genius businesswoman. Love her or hate her, you cannot ignore her, and that is exactly how she planned it. This is the story of Kimberly Noel Kardashian, a woman who took the rules of fame and rewrote them entirely, who built an empire from controversy and confidence, and who proved that in the modern world, you do not need traditional talent to become a legend. This is not just a story about celebrity. This is a story about reinvention, resilience, family, scandal, and the power of understanding exactly what the world wants to see. The story begins on October 21, 1980, in Los Angeles, California, a city where dreams are manufactured, and fame is the currency that matters most. Kimberly Noel Kardashian was born into a world of comfort and privilege, the second child of Robert Kardashian and Kris Houghton Kardashian. Her father was a successful attorney who moved in elite circles, working with some of the most powerful and famous people in Los Angeles, and her mother was a beautiful and ambitious woman who understood from the very beginning the value of connections, appearances, and strategic relationships. Kim grew up in Beverly Hills, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in America, surrounded by luxury cars that cost more than most people's homes, beautiful mansions with swimming pools and tennis courts, and people who lived lives that seemed like they belonged in movies rather than reality. But privilege does not always mean happiness, and the Kardashian household was complicated in ways that would shape Kim's understanding of family, loyalty, betrayal, and survival. Kim had an older sister named Kourtney who was born just 1 year before her, and the two girls were close from the very beginning, playing together in their big backyard, fighting over toys and clothes, and learning together how to navigate the strange world of wealthy Los Angeles, where everyone seemed to be performing all the time. When Kim was 2 years old, her younger sister Klo was born, and suddenly the Kardashian household was filled with 3 girls who would eventually become some of the most famous women in the world, though nobody could have predicted that in those early years, when they were just normal kids going to birthday parties and learning to ride bicycles. A few years later, their brother Robert Jr. was born, completing the set of Kardashian children and giving the family the dynamic that would later play out on television screens around the globe. Clay family did not have just money, they had connections, and in Los Angeles, connections matter more than almost anything else. Kim's father Robert was not just any attorney working in some generic law firm downtown. He was part of the inner circle of some of the most high-profile cases and powerful people in the city, and through his work, he became close friends with celebrities, athletes, producers, and business moguls who shaped the culture of Los Angeles and America. One of his closest friends was a man named O.J. Simpson, a former football superstar who had become a movie star and television personality, and the Simpson family spent time with the Kardashian family regularly, their children playing together while the adults talked business and life. Young Kim grew up seeing famous people at her house for dinner, attending parties where celebrities mingled and laughed and conducted the business of being famous, and understanding from a very early age that fame was something special, something magical, something that set certain people apart from everyone else and gave them power and influence that regular people did not have. She watched carefully how people treated the famous differently, how they smiled bigger and laughed louder, and agreed more readily when someone famous was speaking. She saw how waiters and store clerks and even other wealthy people acted when celebrities walked into rooms, how the energy shifted, and everyone became more alert and more interested. These observations planted seeds deep in Kim's young mind, ideas about what was possible if you could somehow become one of those special people, about how fame could open doors and create opportunities and make life more exciting and meaningful. She did not yet know how she would become famous herself, did not have a clear plan or a specific talent that would carry her there, but she knew even as a child that she wanted to be on that side of the equation, wanted to be the person everyone noticed when she walked into a room. But life was not perfect despite all the money and the big house and the famous friends who came to parties. Kim's parents fought often, their marriage strained by personality differences that became more pronounced as the years went on. Kris was ambitious and social and always wanting more, always looking for the next opportunity, the next connection, the next thing that would elevate the family's status. Robert was more traditional and conservative and protective, wanting to shield his children from too much exposure, wanting life to be more private and controlled. These fundamental differences created tension that young Kim could feel even when she did not fully understand it. And in 1989, when Kim was just 8 years old, Her parents divorced, and the family structure that had defined her childhood suddenly crumbled and had to be rebuilt in a new configuration. Divorce is painful for any child, no matter how wealthy or privileged they might be, and Kim and her siblings tried to adjust to the new reality of split time between parents, of having two homes instead of one, of navigating the complicated emotions that come with family separation. Kris Kardashian was not the type of woman to stay single for long, and in 1991, just 2 years after her divorce from Robert, she married Bruce Jenner, an Olympic gold medalist who had won the decathlon in 1976 and become an American hero and motivational speaker. Bruce already had 4 children from previous marriages, and together Bruce and Kris would have 2 more daughters, Kendall born in 1995 and Kylie born in 1997. And suddenly Kim was part of a large blended family with step-siblings and half-siblings and complicated dynamics that required constant navigation. Family moved to a large house in Hidden Hills, a gated community outside of Los Angeles, where many celebrities and wealthy people lived behind high walls and security gates, away from the prying eyes of regular people and tourists who drove through Beverly Hills hoping to catch glimpses of the famous. Kim was a teenager now, navigating all the usual challenges of adolescence like school and friendships and boys and body image, but doing so in an environment where wealth and appearance and status mattered more than in most places. She attended Marymount High School, an all-girls Catholic school in Los Angeles, where the daughters of wealthy families learned not just academics, but also the social skills and connections that would serve them later in life. During these teenage years, Kim was popular and beautiful and social, making friends easily and figuring out how the social hierarchies worked and how to position herself advantageously within them. She became friends with Paris Hilton, the great-granddaughter of the Hilton Hotel founder, and Paris was already starting to become famous in her own right as a socialite and party girl, whose every move was documented by tabloid photographers. Kim and Paris ran in the same wealthy Los Angeles circles, attending the same parties at trendy nightclubs, shopping at the same expensive stores on Rodeo Drive, and documenting their lives in photographs long before Instagram existed and made such documentation universal. Kim worked briefly for Paris as a stylist and closet organizer, a job that seems almost comical in retrospect given what Kim would eventually become. But at the time, it was simply a way for a young woman to make some money and stay close to the glamorous world she loved and wanted to be part of more fully. But the most significant event of Kim's teenage years happened in June of 1994, when the world was suddenly focused on her father and her family in ways that were both thrilling and terrifying. Simpson, Robert Kardashian's close friend and someone Kim had known her entire life, was accused of murdering his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman in a brutal knife attack that shocked the nation. The case became a media sensation, unlike anything America had seen before, with news helicopters following a white Ford Bronco in a bizarre slow-speed chase on Los Angeles freeways, while millions of people watched on television, unable to look away from the surreal spectacle. Robert Kardashian, who had remained friends with Simpson even after divorcing Kris, made the decision to stand by OJ and joined his legal defense team. And suddenly Robert's face was on television every single day, and the Kardashian name was known to millions of Americans who had never heard it before. For 13-year-old Kim and her siblings, watching their father on television every day defending a man accused of brutal double murder was surreal and confusing and complicated. Kim was old enough to understand what was happening, but young enough to struggle with the moral complexity of it all, with questions about loyalty and friendship and justice that had no easy answers. The trial lasted for months, dominating news coverage day after day, dividing America along racial and social lines that revealed deep wounds in the national fabric, and turning everyone involved into instant celebrities, whether they wanted to be or not. Robert Kardashian became famous not for his legal brilliance or courtroom skills, but simply for his association with the case and his visible loyalty to his friend. And Kim saw firsthand how media attention worked, how a person could become known to millions overnight simply by being connected to something the public found fascinating. And the trial ended in October of 1995, with O.J. Simpson being found not guilty despite overwhelming evidence that many believed proved his guilt. The Kardashian family was thrust even deeper into public consciousness. Some people praised Robert for standing by his friend and believing in the presumption of innocence, while others criticized him harshly for defending a man they were certain was a murderer who had gotten away with killing 2 people. The experience was difficult and stressful for the family, bringing unwanted attention and judgment, and forcing them to deal with being recognized in public and having opinions shouted at them by strangers. But it also gave them their first real taste of fame, of having their names in newspapers and their faces on television, and being part of a story that the entire world was watching. And these were lessons that Kim would never forget as she moved forward into adulthood. Kim's father, Robert, was diagnosed with esophageal cancer in July of 2003, and the disease moved through his body with terrible speed. Just 8 weeks after the diagnosis, in September of that same year, he died at the age of 59, and Kim was 22 years old and absolutely devastated by the loss of her father. the man who had taught her about loyalty and strength and the importance of family above everything else. His death left a permanent hole in her life that would never be fully filled, but it also reinforced lessons he had taught her about seizing opportunities and making the most of whatever time you have, because life can end suddenly and without warning. She had watched her father achieve a kind of fame through his association with the Simpson case, and she had seen how quickly life could end, and these experiences shaped her drive and her determination to make something of herself, to build something that would last, to become someone who mattered and would be remembered. In the early 2000s, Kim Kardashian was known primarily as Paris Hilton's friend and occasional assistant, the pretty girl in the background of photographs taken at Hollywood clubs and parties, someone who was always there but never quite the main focus. She appeared briefly in episodes of Paris's reality show, The Simple Life, and was featured in tabloid magazines as part of the young Hollywood social scene, identified in photo captions as Paris's friend or stylist, but she was not the star of anything. She was the sidekick, the supporting character, the person standing next to the famous person, and while she enjoyed the attention and the lifestyle of clubs and parties and designer clothes, she wanted more than that. She had grown up watching how fame worked, had seen how it could transform lives and create opportunities, and she believed deep down that she had what it took to be more than just someone's friend, to be the center of attention rather than the background. She just needed an opportunity, a moment to break through and show what she could do, and that moment would come in 2007 in a way that was both devastating and, ultimately, strategic. In February of 2007, a private intimate tape featuring Kim and her then-boyfriend Ray J, a singer and actor who was the brother of singer Brandy, was leaked to the public and spread across the internet like wildfire. The tape was explicit and deeply personal, and its release was humiliating and devastating for Kim and her entire family, who suddenly had to deal with the most private moments being discussed and viewed by millions of strangers. Many people assumed that this would be the end of whatever small celebrity Kim had managed to build, that she would be remembered only as another young woman whose private moment had been exposed and exploited by the cruel machinery of tabloid culture and internet gossip. But what happened next defied all expectations and became a masterclass in crisis management, opportunity seizure, and understanding how to turn even the worst situations into platforms for success. Instead of hiding in shame or letting the scandal define her only in negative terms, Kim and her family, particularly her mother Kreese, who had always been the strategic thinker and the one who saw opportunities where others saw only problems, decided to use the massive attention the scandal generated to launch something much bigger and more lasting. Just months after the tape was released in October of 2007, a new reality television show premiered on the E! Network called Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and the show featured Kim, her sisters Kourtney and KH Lowe, her brother Rob, her mother Kreese, her stepfather Bruce, and her younger half-sisters Kendall and Kylie. The premise was simple and had been proven successful by shows like The Osbournes and other family-based reality programs. Cameras would follow this wealthy, dramatic, beautiful, complicated family as they navigated their lives in Los Angeles, dealing with business ventures and relationships and fights, and all the chaos that comes with being a large family living together and working together. The show was not high art, and it was never trying to be high art. It was designed to be entertaining and addictive and easy to watch, the kind of show you could put on in the background while doing other things, but that would pull you in with its drama and humor, and the strange appeal of watching wealthy, beautiful people deal with problems that seemed both relatable and completely foreign at the same time. And the show succeeded beyond anyone's wildest expectations, even beyond what Kreese Kardashian had dared to hope. Within just a few seasons, Keeping Up with the Kardashians became one of the most popular reality shows on television, attracting millions of viewers every week, generating endless media coverage and think pieces about what the show meant about American culture, and turning Kim and her entire family from wealthy, but relatively unknown, Los Angeles socialites into global celebrities whose faces were recognized everywhere, and whose every move was documented and discussed. Kim became the breakout star of the show, the one that audiences seemed most interested in and most invested in watching. Her personality on the show was a carefully balanced mixture of relatable and aspirational that hit exactly the right notes for the audience the show was trying to reach. She was beautiful and rich and wore designer clothes, and lived in gorgeous houses and dated attractive men. But she also dealt with family drama and relationship problems and insecurities about her weight and appearance that regular viewers could identify with and see themselves in. She cried on camera when things went wrong. She fought with her sisters over petty things like borrowed clothes and perceived slights. She struggled publicly with the challenges of maintaining relationships and managing her career. And she allowed herself to be vulnerable in ways that made her seem human and real despite all the glamorous packaging that surrounded her. Kim Kardashian's journey from the daughter of a lawyer to a global icon worth billions of dollars is one of the most extraordinary transformations in modern entertainment history. She took a scandal that could have destroyed her and turned it into the foundation of an empire that now includes television shows, beauty companies, shapewear brands, mobile games, and advocacy work that has freed prisoners and changed laws. She understood before almost anyone else that the rules of fame were changing, that social media would allow celebrities to bypass traditional gatekeepers and build direct relationships with audiences, and that authenticity mattered less than consistency and access. She turned her life into content, making every moment potentially valuable, every experience potentially monetizable, and she did it with discipline and strategic thinking that would impress any business school professor. Criticisms of Kim are real and important and should not be dismissed. She has promoted beauty standards that are unrealistic and potentially harmful. She has benefited from privilege and from appropriating elements of cultures not her own, without facing the same consequences that people from those cultures face. She represents a kind of celebrity that values visibility and wealth over substance and meaningful contribution. But she has also shown remarkable resilience, evolving from a reality star into a businesswoman into an advocate, growing and changing in public, while maintaining her relevance for nearly 2 decades in an industry that usually discards people quickly. She has worked extraordinarily hard, built legitimate businesses that create jobs and serve real needs, and used her platform to free people from unjust prison sentences and to bring attention to important issues. As Kim moves through her 40s with 4 children and multiple businesses and an ever-evolving public image, her legacy is still being written. She has already changed how celebrity works in the social media age, proven that fame can be built without traditional talent if you have other skills like understanding your audience and managing your brand. She has shown that women can build billion-dollar empires on their own terms, even when those terms do not fit into traditional boxes of respectability. She has demonstrated that reinvention is always possible, that failure can be overcome, that criticism can be survived and even used as fuel. Whether history judges her positively or negatively, whether she is remembered as a visionary businesswoman or as a symbol of everything shallow about modern culture, one thing is absolutely certain. Kim Kardashian changed the game, and we are all still living in the world she helped create. That makes her, despite all controversy, a true legend of our time.